Government and the NHS are prepared to deal with coronavirus. You can help too. The best way to protect yourself and others is to wash your hands with soap and water or use a sanitizer gel regularly throughout the day. Catch your cough or sneeze in a tissue, bin it, and wash your hands. If you have recently arrived back from specified areas, follow the returning traveller advice. Check the list of areas and find out more at nhs.uk/coronavirus.
And now, more good times and great songs
across the Lower Wolf Valley.
This is Tempo FM.
It is 3 minutes past 12. You are listening to 107.4 Tempo FM on your dial. You might even be listening online at www.tempofm.co.uk. But either way, you are listening to me, Rebecca, doing something a little bit different. Where this week I am celebrating all things to do with stories and tales and ballads, all because it is World Book Day on Thursday. Now, World Book Day is a registered charity on a mission to give every child and young person a book of their own. It's also a celebration of authors, illustrators, books, and most importantly, it is a celebration of reading. So, but of course, to enjoy stories, we don't necessarily have to be able to read. Obviously, it is a huge advantage to be able to read, and we can truly enjoy more detailed stories by doing so, and to let our imaginations go wild. But of course, way back when, hundreds of years ago, before everyone could be able to was able to read and write, and it was only the monks and those highly educated who were able to, the only way to pass on stories was, of course, in song and in ballads. And I've just played a few ballads there, but sometimes, speaking of the past, it's always nice to tell stories about, I'm sure we're all always telling stories about when we were younger and our fondest memories. And of course, they are tales that we do like to tell. So the very first song I'm going to play in this second hour is called the JCB song, and it's sung by Nizlopi. Nizlopi there with the JCB song, obviously a tale about himself and his dad hanging out when he was much younger. But of course, tales aren't just about the past. They can be about the present and of course the future as well. As to, it might be plans that are set in stone, or it could be something that could happen, which is why I'm now going to go into a song called 7 Years by Lucas Graham for you right now, which explores the storytelling mode of past, present and future. 7 Years by Lucas Graham. Here is the next first couple of paragraphs from the next book. I'd like you guys to guess the name of the book. Thursday, January 1st, bank holiday in England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. These are my New Year's resolutions. 1. I will help the blind across the road. 2. I will hang my trousers up. 3. I will put the sleeves back on my records. 4. I will not start smoking. 5. I will stop squeezing my spots. 6. I will be kind to the dog. 7. I will help the poor and ignorant. 8. After hearing the disgusting noises from downstairs last night, I have also vowed never to drink alcohol. My father got the dog drunk on cherry brandy at the party last night. If the RSPCA heard about it, he could get done. 8 days have gone by since Christmas Day, but my mother still hasn't worn the green Lurex apron I bought her for Christmas. She will get bath cubes next year. Just my luck, I've got a spot on my chin for the first day of the new year. Have a think about what book that is from, and I will give you the answer after this and a word from our sponsors. This is about the future.
Drag myself. Tempo FM.
Oh, a nice funky one, that one. I haven't heard that one before. Yes, you are here with Rebecca doing something a little bit different here at 107.4 Tempo FM, coming from the heart of Wetherby. It is 20 minutes past 12. And if you are interested in reading, this is the show for you, because today I'm celebrating World Book Day, which is on Thursday, with lots of songs that tell lots of tales. Of course, that's originally how they would pass on stories way back when. Even Bible stories used to be told in the form of plays. If anyone is familiar with York Mystery Plays are actually the oldest still running mystery plays in possibly the world. I did a bit of research on it years and years ago, and that's kind of all I remember from the research. So, and the mystery plays actually started off when, of course, they used to tell the stories from the Bible in Latin in churches, which no one would understand, unfortunately. And then they started to enact them out to help people understand the stories in church. This was then deemed blasphemous, so then the stories were then put outside the church and started to become more of a performance festival type thing. But it was all in aid of people to understand the stories in the Bible. And the York Mystery Plays continue to this day. In fact, I saw one a couple of years ago, and the staging was just absolutely brilliant. It was outside in, I think it was Millennium Gardens, and it was absolutely stunning to go and see. Anyway, but songs and music is also how they would tell these stories. And I'm now going to go on to a section I'm going to call Doing It for the Girls, because these next few songs are all about ladies. So this very first one is one that you probably won't have heard before. It's called Her Morning Elegance, and it's by Oren Lavie. That was Her Morning Elegance by Oren Lavie. Now, did anyone guess the which book I pulled that very first chapter from that I read to you just before the ad break? Well, it was The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4, written by Sue Townsend. And you can actually get the complete book in one volume, and I'm actually holding it in my hand right now. It's quite interesting with books, how they fade in the sunlight. The only colour that remains after a while is blue. The red and yellow seem to disappear over time, which is quite fascinating. So if you ever want to keep your books nice and preserved, keep them in the shade so that they don't lose any of their colouring. Now, I think it's time for a bit more of a modern song. This is one that you've probably heard, but not thought of it as a story. But it is a story. It's about a single mum who is doing her best to raise her child, to earn what money she can to give him the life that he deserves. It's called Rockabye, and it's by Clean Bandit.
Good times, great songs, Tempo FM.
Yes, this is Tempo FM, and you are listening to Rebecca doing something a little bit different. It is 24 minutes to 1, and you are. This is coming from the heart of Wetherby, where today I'm celebrating World Book Day on Thursday. But at the same time, it is also BBC Radio 2's 500 Words competition happening at the moment. It's still ongoing. I haven't been able to find when the deadline is for submissions. I don't know if that's just me being a bit daft and not being able to navigate the website, but it is all up there on the BBC website, right there for you, where children aged 9 through to 13, I think, can submit about 500, a short story of about 500 words to be then judged and voted as the best. Now, this got me thinking what the world's shortest songs and what the world's shortest stories were, and so I quickly had a quick search, and Ernest Hemingway, perhaps at 2 particular bars, once bet a bunch of fellows he could make them cry with a short story just 6 words long. If he won the bet, each guy would have to fork over $10, and Hemingway's 6-word story was as follows: For sale, baby shoes never worn. He won the bet, of course. Now, there was another short story that I once heard about, and I'm going to do this one from memory. Now, this short story in this competition had to be the shortest possible, but it had to contain a certain number of themes. So it had to contain religion, it had to contain mystery, and it had to contain some kind of surprise or unexpected happening. And I believe the winning story, I haven't been able to find it, but I'm sure this is fairly close, was I'm pregnant. I wonder, oh God, I wonder whose it is. And that was the winner of that particular short story, which contained both surprise, mystery and religion. And that's pretty good going. Now, sometimes not all stories have got to be about people. Many old stories were also about other happenings. You can get stories about mountains and volcanoes, and even about a very popular one, of course, because they would be named as she's, and these ships would be given women's names. And this song is called "Lady of the Sea" (Hear Her Calling), and it's by Seth Lakeman, and it's all about a ship. Chapter 1. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. Where is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? So she was considering in her own mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain was worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when a white rabbit, with pink eyes, ran close by her. There was nothing very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, "Dear, dear, I shall be too late." When she thought of it afterwards, it occurred to her that she thought she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket, looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it. And, full of curiosity, she hurried across the field after it, and was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In a moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. Which book is that from? Send me a message, let me know. You can text me at 82228, starting the message with the word tempo, followed by space, and your standard network rate supply. If you get it right, I'll let you know, live on air. Here's Lily Allen with 22. Lily Allen there with 22, a tale about a girl who was 22 and everything was fine and she was happy, and then when she was almost 30 she realised, nothing has quite changed. I'm not happy with this. Now, did anyone guess which book I read that chapter from before? Now, the very first name that I mentioned was, of course, in fact, it was the biggest. It was the first word, and it was the biggest hint. It was, of course, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. However, it originally started as being called Alice's Adventures Underground, and that is effectively the shorter version of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, because it originally started as a shorter story, and then when it initially became popular, it was then rewritten and extended into and renamed into Alice's Adventures in Wonderland that we know and love now. I'm going to slip in. Actually, I'm not going to slip in another song now. Let's go to our sponsors, and then I'm going to squeeze in a few last songs just before the news at 12 o'clock. It is now 13 minutes to 1, and you are listening to Rebecca here at Tempo FM.
Loving where you live.
Newton Kine,
Calthorpe,
Walton,
Little Ribston,
Tockwith,
Thorpe Arch,
and the heart and soul of the Lower Wolf Valley.
Tempo FM.
That's right, and my time is almost up. It is 9 minutes to 1, and I need to squeeze in one last quick tale, which I'm going to give you the very first line from. And actually, if you were listening earlier, I did actually say I dressed up as one of the characters from this book for one of my book days back when I was in primary school. So that was a good, 20 years ago now. Oh my goodness, that's so long ago. But it is a classic tale that everyone knows of. So here we go. The beginning of things. They were not railway children to begin with. They lived near London with their father and mother in a red brick villa with coloured glass in the front door, lots of white paint, and what house advertisements call very modern convenience. The only times they travelled by train were to go to the zoo or Madame Tussauds. There were 3 of them. Roberta, the eldest, whom everyone called Bobby. This was perhaps her mother's secret favourite. Peter wanted to be an engineer, and Phyllis meant well, but sometimes things seemed to go wrong for her. Yes, right there. Let's play one more song. Now, this one is Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, and if you listen, you might not realise it listening to it, but it is in fact it has been interpreted as a story. See if you can figure out what the story is as you listen to it right now. So, did you get the story in Bohemian Rhapsody? Well, in explanation, Queen states that Bohemian Rhapsody is about a young man who has accidentally killed someone and, like Faustus, sold his soul to the devil. Now, this very last song I'm going to play for you, which is going to lead us into the news, is called The Riddle. And although it sounds like it's going to be a song, I searched it, it's not at all. It's actually just a jumble of nonsense written by a lunatic 80s pop star, rock and roll, Nick Kershaw, of course, just to find lyrics and rhythm to fit this song. So here we go. This is The Riddle. Thank you all for tuning in this week. Hope you enjoy World Book Day on Thursday. Pick up a book if you haven't done in a long time. I know I'm certainly going to. I actually got given the original Peter Pan story just for Christmas just gone, and I'm going to enjoy reading that. So I will see you next week. Well, listen to you next week, maybe. Stay tuned later from 3 p.m. It's the Sensational 70s Show with Rob Allen here on Tempo FM.